Good morning, everyone. Good morning. According to the clock, it is time to start the Saturday edition of TV Toastmasters. So welcome to Cincinnati TV Toastmasters. I'm really looking forward today. We have a couple of guests, and that always makes me feel good. We have a lot of our members on today, and we have an understanding that a couple of people will not be able to make it. So I'm really looking forward to the prepared presentations as well as the table topics. It's always so important to get together twice a month. We get together on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m., the first Thursday of the month, I should say, the first Thursday, and the third Saturday. And guests are always welcome because after all, we are 100% virtual. And we do have guests all over the country from time to time. And we have had some international guests. And that is one thing that makes us very unique, that we can have guests from all over the country. We don't meet in person anymore, but the name TV Toastmasters comes to us from the time where we used to meet in a TV studio. And we used to project our meetings onto the Cincinnati cable TV platform. And when they closed in, I think during the pandemic, we went to Zoom and we decided to become a 100% virtual club. We're not looking for a location because we have members from and officers of our club from many different time zones, or at least other time zones besides the Eastern time zone. So let's get started today. I'd like to introduce the Toastmaster. Joy Harris is going to be the Toastmaster. So thank you. Thank you. So let us take a look at the agenda for today. I'm going to share screen really quick so we can get an idea of what is going on with the agenda. Oops. I don't remember getting that message before. Something new. All right. And I'm assuming then you can see the agenda. I'm going to do one more refresh to make sure that I have all the most updated roles, because I was assigned Toastmaster just a few minutes ago. So we're going to have a timer today who will time each of the prepared presentations and will time the table topics as well as the evaluations. And what we do is we show the time, and then there's 30 seconds to wrap it up, or if we were in contest mode, you would be disqualified. So we're going to also have our word and awe counter of the day, and that's Joe swirling. And then Janet is going to introduce us to table topics, and she often introduces us to a theme of the day. And then we have a guest speaker today. I'm looking forward to the guest speaker, and John Mitchell will be our guest speaker. Joy Harris, I am doing speaker number 2. And then we also always have an opportunity for our guests to pitch in. And our general evaluator is also going to be John Mitchell. And for the first evaluator, we have David Ash, one of the officers of our club. The second evaluator is Renee. And Renee is a guest who will come to us, Renee Mitchell, who comes to us from another club. So thank you so much for pitching in at the last minute. And then the general evaluator will go over all the various roles, and we will get started. So I do not need to continue to share my screen. So let us talk a little bit about the roles. I don't, David, yes, you're going to be the timer. Do you want to explain to us how you're going to show the times?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Yes, I will be the timer. And table topics is 1 to 2 minutes. Evaluations are 2 to 3 minutes, and both speeches are going to be 5 to 7 minutes. So for table topics, I will show a green warning at 1 minute, yellow warning at 1 minute and a half, and red at 2 minutes. And then you have a 30-second grace period to wrap up. Speeches, it'll be green at 5, yellow at 6, and red at 7. And evaluations, green at 2 minutes, yellow at 2.5, and red at 3. I think that's all you need to know. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
All right, thank you. Janet, can you tell us a little, or excuse me, Veronica. Okay, that's what happens when the roles change a few minutes before the meeting. Joe Swirling, can you tell us a little bit about your role today as the awe counter and the grammarian?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I will try to be attentive and learn and listen and give a report back on word usage, filler words, and or lack of use of words as best we can on those filler words like ahs and ums. I'll also, has been recommended to me, we'll choose the of all the possible words of the day, we'll go with possibilities, as in endless possibilities. So try to work in possibility of things happening, whatever, and I'll give a report on who has been able to work that into their to their verbal responses, and I'll give that report at the end. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I think it is time to turn it over to, oh, Joe, did we get our word of the day?
Yeah, it'll be the possibilities.
Possibility. All right, thank you. Thank you. So
or any
Janet,
synonym thereof, or so on.
all right, another version of possibility. I think it is possible for me to work that into my speech. It's a possibility. All right. So now I would like to introduce Janet Kassalen, another officer of our club, who is our table topics master for the day. Janet, do you want to talk to us about table topics and then take it away?
Sure, Madam President and Toastmaster. I have picked a theme for today, and it is appreciation. Actually, this is Husband Appreciation Day. It was started for couples that don't have children. So I did say to my husband that I appreciated him for his humor and how smart he is and things, how he supports me. And I'm going to cook him a supper tonight. Well, table topics is when you speak off the cuff, you get a chance to give like a mini speech. You have an opening, a body, and a conclusion. And it's just practice to be able to answer questions that someone might ask you at your workplace or other places and come up with a reasonable answer. So I have possibilities of 6 different questions I've come up with that do with appreciation or self-care, taking care of ourselves, just because it's appreciating ourselves. So do I have any people? You'll have to let me know who would like to do a table topic, because I'm on my phone in the car and I don't know how to see everybody right now. So you have to let me know verbally.
Well, Janet, we have two guests today, John and Renee, and they are both
Okay.
experienced Toastmasters. So unless they do this, I thank everyone. We have Joe on today. We have David Ash and Veronica. So I would say call on any one of us.
All right. All right. Well, I'll call on David Ash first since he's a member of our club and he'll give an example how to do a table topic. David, would you like to pick number 1 through 6?
I will go for 3.
Number 3. What possibilities would you consider of character traits you would like a coworker or friend to have?
Thank you for that. So I'm being asked what possibilities of character traits would I like a friend or a coworker to have? One thing, I guess there would be different answers in the two situations. A coworker is someone I do want them to be very focused on the job. I actually do not see the job as a place for just kind of hanging out, but I don't want them to get too serious about it. So a coworker, I do want them to be hardworking. I want them to be mostly focused on the job, but I guess I would want them to have a sense of humor. Is the biggest thing for a coworker. Work can be pretty stressful, as I think we all know. So I do want the coworker to work hard just as I will, but I want them to have the biggest thing is a sense of humor in a coworker. So I think that opens the most possibilities there. For a friend, I think it's a little bit more is needed than just having a sense of humor. A sense of humor is important, certainly, in a friend, but I would say being supportive of someone's goals or interests is really the biggest thing that I would want in a friend. So it's just a little more than with a coworker. But with a friend, I want to know that I can share, maybe even trust them with goals of mine or dreams that I might not share with everyone. I know they're going to be supportive. So coworker, main thing is a sense of humor. With a friend, that's important, but also I want them to be supportive. And back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
All right, thank you, David. Let's see, I will pick Renee, one of our guests. Let's see, Renee, you have a choice of 1 through 6, except for number 3.
Okay, I'll take number 5.
Okay, number 5. Give an example where you made something easier to do.
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. Something where I made something easier to do. I have an example. There is a newer club that started out a few months ago. It's Cincinnati Nature, and they had no Toastmaster experience. And I know I'm using tons of filler words. I don't normally do that. Maybe it's because it's Saturday. My brain is not engaged yet. Anyway, as we got their club set up, we needed to set up their free Toast host site so that they were able to sign people up for roles and everything. When I showed them the site, I think their eyes glassed over and they thought, I can't possibly do this, set up the agenda and everything from scratch. Therefore, I said, let me help you out. I will set up the first one. I will set up your template. I showed them how to do that, but I set it up for them the first time. And I saved it. And I said, now this is the template that you are going to use going forward. And I showed them how to move stuff around if they needed to. And after I did that, they were like, oh my goodness, that just totally takes a whole load off of us. Many times I think when we have something new that we're trying to learn, we need to see an example first of how it's supposed to look. And after that, then it's easy for us to take it forward. Therefore, something that I did to make things easier is I set up the template for them. That way they were able to set up future agendas, get people signed up, and now they are running. And it also gave them the opportunity to get more familiar with the tool as opposed to starting from scratch with basically a blank slate. I gave them the things that they needed that they could then build on, get more comfortable with the platform, and continue to move along in their Toastmaster journey. That's my answer. Back over to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
All right, thank you, Renee. Let's see, how about Joe swirling? Let's see,
That's
you have,
fine. That's fine.
you can pick number 1, 2, 4, or 6.
I like, well, any even number. I'll take the 2. That's the first one that came to mind.
Okay. Give us 3 reasons why you like yourself.
Madam Topic Master. Well, I would say one reason I would like myself, or among the possibilities of the way other people see us, I would hope that one reason they would see me as, and for me to appreciate myself is my integrity, personal integrity in anything I do. I would say another feature, generosity, as far as being able to help anyone I can, either physically or through things. And in my case, that's a two-way street, because I've got a lot of things I'm trying to get rid of. So it's even easier to give away things that you've got excess of. But so that would be another possibility. And to a limited extent, I must admit, I would have to say loving. I've never had the opportunity for extreme love, let's say. I've never been married. I never disliked my parents or my twin sister. I always loved them, but I almost never would come out and say, I love you, Mom, or I love you, Dad, I love you, my sister. Probably the few times with my sister and my mother were when they were close to passing on in past years and decades. So those would be the 3 things, I think: integrity, generosity, and love, to the extent a single person can provide. But I'm always available for the future, and keeping my eyes open. Never know. Thank you.
All right, thank you for sharing, Joe. Let's see, do we have time for another table topic?
I think we
Question?
do.
I think you do. Okay, let's see, I think Veronica is here. Is Veronica here?
I am.
Okay, Veronica, would you like to do 1, 4, or 6?
One.
One. Okay. I have to read my writing. What give us possibilities of self-care practices that you find easy, that you like to do, or some self-care tasks that you find hard to do?
Wonderful. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. All right. So the possibilities are endless. But for me, there were a few. Sleep. Sleep is easy for me to do. Once my head hits the pillow, I am out for the count. Number 2, meditation. I meditate twice a day, every day, and it has become easy over time. For me, meditation is sitting in one place. That counts. Whether or not I hit some altered higher state, that's bonus. Number 3, I am trying to take a vacation from all negative thoughts and identify them as soon as they arise, and try to see if I can find the root cause of what is it that's bothering me about the situation. And I learned through psychology, studies in psychology, that usually the root of all negative emotions is fear. Or if it's anger, what I'm afraid of, usually something I feel threatened. If it's annoyance, if it's, oh, self-defense, whatever it is, it's usually a root cause of fear. So those are my three. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
All right, thank you. Thanks everyone for participating in Table Topics. I'll turn the control back over to our Toastmaster, Joy.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet. Those were interesting table topics and an interesting way that you had them pick 1 through 6. I love that. I love that technique. I thought they were tough questions, challenging questions, and they were answered very well. So we are ready for our first prepared speech for the day. And we have someone assigned to be the evaluator. David, are you ready to introduce our speaker?
Yes, I am. I believe, John, you will be the speaker, right?
Right.
Okay. So yes, today I would like to introduce our guest, John, who is an experienced Toastmaster. And Jeff will be speaking to us on what's in not Jeff, sorry, John will be speaking to us on what's in a name. In today's speech, we will take a look at some names that are often misunderstood and misapplied. Furthermore, this is an important topic for which we need clarity in our understanding. John Mitchell, what's in a name? What's in a name? John Mitchell.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate that. Bear with me for just a second while I share my screen. Can everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. What's in a name? Have you ever been asked a question and you think to yourself, I ought to know the answer to that, but I don't? About 2 months ago, a question was asked to me, and it's an important question. And here was the question that I was asked. What's the difference between jelly and jam and preserves? I thought to myself, I ought to know that, but I didn't. I did some research on that, and then I thought to myself, that would make an interesting Toastmaster speech. Here's the basics of jelly, jam, and preserves. They're all made with fruit and sugar that's cooked down. They all use pectin to thicken. Now, pectin is very interesting. Pectin is a naturally occurring fiber in fruits and vegetables. And it's interesting because as it cooks down, when it's in the presence of liquid and cooks, it expands and thickens. Therefore, it becomes a perfect thickener to make things like jelly thicker. They're also all fruity and delicious. When you boil down to it, what's the difference between the three? It actually boils down to the amount of actual fruit that's used in each one. Let's talk about jelly. Jelly is interesting. Here's how jelly is made. What jelly is made from is only the fruit juice. You take fruit juice and cook it down with pectin until it becomes, well, you know what that is, that translucent, wiggly gel that we all know what jelly is. Remember, though, jelly is made only with the juices of the fruit. That's why jelly is so smooth. You ever wonder why jelly doesn't have any chunks in it? Well, the reason jelly doesn't have chunks is there's no fruit in it. It's made only with the juices. Cook the fruit, all the juices released, then strain out all the pulp, take the juice that's left over, add sugar, and add additional pectin, which will give it that thick gel consistency. That's jelly. And here we go. I hope you guys can see that because I've got the little bar in my way, but there's the classic Smucker's grape jelly that we've all been eating since we were kids. Jam. Jam is a soft, jellied spread. How do you make jam? You take whole fruit and you cook that with sugar. Once it's all cooked, you take that mixture and mash it down. That takes the big chunks of the fruit out. And then you cook that. Sometimes pectin is added, sometimes it isn't. I put on my sheet, sometimes that pectin is usually added. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, depends on the fruit. But even though you add pectin, you don't add as much pectin as is in jelly. Therefore, the consistency is typically looser than it is in jelly. And there is a picture of the Kroger strawberry jam.
Hmm.
Last up is preserves, which I will confess is my favorite. Professors, preserves are what is unique about them is they have larger chunks of fruit that's suspended in a thick gelled syrup. How do you make preserves? The whole fruit is cooked with sugar. Sounds very much like jam, but here's the difference. There's no straining and there's no mashing. Once that fruit is cooked with the sugar, just leave it like it is. Very rarely do you add any pectin to preserves, though sometimes that happens. In the end, the chunkier texture is really what sets preserves apart from jam. And there is my favorite. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that because I'm from Georgia and we struggle to pronounce words correctly. I call that Bony Mama. That's what I call it. And I love the Bony Mama strawberry preserves. What are the primary ingredients of each one? Jelly, the primary ingredient is fruit juice. That'll, if you look on the jar, that'll be the number one ingredient, followed by sugar, followed by pectin. Jam, the primary ingredient is sugar. Maybe that's why it tastes so good. And then fruit. And preserves, the primary ingredient will be fruit, followed by sugar. And I use the color codes to remind me to say something in case I forgot. I put preserves in orange just to tell you orange marmalade is actually a preserve, which is something kind of interesting. I personally like orange marmalade. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Here's the pros and cons of each one. First, jelly. Jelly is easy to spread because there's no chunks in it. Jelly is very easy to spread. However, it doesn't have as much flavor. It has a less fruity flavor, and that's because, remember, it's not cooked with the fruit. It's actually just the juice. And I made this last one up. This is a John Mitchell original. It has limited flavors. When I was doing my research for this, I went to Kroger, and the only jelly I could find at Kroger was Smucker's grape jelly. Jams. Jam has more real fruit. And in my opinion, jam has the widest application. It spreads fairly easily because of its consistency, and it doesn't have the chunks in it, which some people don't like. It does contain pieces, which is okay, and it has a looser consistency. And then preserves has the boldest fruit flavor. The other thing about preserves is it has many flavor choices. If you go to Kroger again, or if you go to a place like Dorothy Lane Market, you'll find out a lot of preserve choices. It does have the large chunks in it, which some people may not like. And it is definitely the hardest to spread because you eat that Bony Mama strawberry preserves and it'll have big chunks of strawberry in there. Here is the John Mitchell official selection guide. I made this up. Jelly is best for sandwiches. It spreads so easy, it's the best for sandwiches. Jam is the most versatile. It's very good for cheese and crackers. If you're going to put out a cheese and crackers and, the kind of Scooby snacks that you like to have for a ball game or maybe a family gathering, jam is the best choice. And preserves are the best choice for cooking and baking because it has the fullest fruit flavor. What do I eat for lunch every day? And I really do eat this for lunch every day. I have a peanut butter and preserve sandwich every day. And I like preserves because the possibilities are so wide because there are so many choices. And now you know what's in a name. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, John. By the title of your speech, What's in a Name? I never would have guessed that it was going to be about jellies, jam, and preserves. So right now we're going to put 1 minute on the clock so that the evaluator can make the notes.
Yeah, it's about a minute. I'm ready.
All right, thank you, David. It is time now for our second prepared speech. And Renee Mitchell is going to be our evaluator. So would you like to introduce the second speech?
Yes, I would love to do that. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. My name is Renee Mitchell, and I will be the evaluator for our next speaker. Joy Harris is going to be giving us a speech on the joys and challenges of impromptu speaking. We are going to learn more about impromptu speaking after she gives us our speech. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Joy Harris, Impromptu Speaking, Joy Harris.
Thank you, Renee. So in a perfect world, you're seeing impromptu speaking. Hello, everyone. I'm Joy Harris. Today, we're going to talk about impromptu speaking, and it's a possibility that we prepared this because we've already talked about speaking off the cuff, but this was not prearranged. I found out that speaking off the cuff was started when people had about a 4-inch cuff at the end of their sleeve. And many times they would leave their notes on their sleeve if it wasn't a prepared speech. Because as we know, we have people that come on here and they speak for 5 minutes, they speak for 6, 7, and beyond. And generally they have practiced that speech, they've said it over and over, they've prepared slides, and they know what they're going to talk about. But one of the important things about our opportunity for public speaking twice a month is that we get to give prepared speeches and we get to receive evaluations on our speech and also learn a little bit about how to do an evaluation. But we also have an opportunity to have table topics. And table topics is known for off-the-cuff speaking. So this would be an opportunity, we'll just say in an office, in a conference room, you may be talking about something as important as what format are we going to use to prepare the annual budget? And I want to hear from everyone. Or we may be talking about how are we going to celebrate the holidays this year? Are we going to introduce a new product? Are we going to have a company party? Either way, this facilitator has asked to speak from everyone. They've asked everyone in the room to give their opinion on something. So very often it is important to have the confidence to speak up, even when you know what you're going to say. However, when they go around the room and they speak about table topics, you don't know if you're going to be selected next. You don't know what the topic is. The important thing is to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. And it doesn't matter the content as much as being able to speak with a little bit of confidence. What happens is eventually it's going to come around to next. Joy, what do you think? I think someone just stuck a microphone in my face. I think there's a spotlight on me. I think, so even when you have an opinion, sometimes we start with the word it does not show confidence. And I can tell you a little bit of story about that. I have a show that I watch, and they were introducing a new commentator. So the commentators that I've known and loved are paid speakers. So this new commentator came on and they said, I would like to introduce, we'll just say her name was Jessica Walker. And she came on and she said, hello, I'm Jessica Walker. And I thought, is your name Jessica Walker, or is it Jessica Walker? And whatever she said after that, I don't remember. all I remember was this woman needs Toastmasters. So I didn't watch her for a while, and I will admit that I have watched her now. I don't know how, but she learned to not sprinkle her presentation with so many ums. But if we're not speaking in a conference room, and if we're not called on that often for extemporaneous speaking, let's think about what opportunities do we really have for extemporaneous speaking today? Well, I can give you an example. I am going to implement a new feature along with our table topics. I saw this in other Toastmaster clubs. Sometimes they vote for the best speech of the day, and they might vote for the best evaluation. But I plan to implement the best table topic speech, so we get an opportunity to give an acceptance speech. An acceptance speech is less than a minute, so you can write your notes on your cuff. It's possible to get up and extemporaneously thank the people. For example, I would like to thank you to all the judges that came here today to judge the pie contest. And I would like to thank my mother who taught me how to bake pies. And I plan to use this award to continue to make pies, different types of pies. I'm going to feed pies to my family. I'm going to take pies to the potluck dinners. And I really appreciate that I was honored today with being the best pie. So I would like to thank everyone who came to this pie baking contest and gave me an opportunity to share my pie. So just like that, I would like to thank everyone for listening a little bit today about impromptu speaking, and I appreciate all of you for being here today. So thank you. And now we're going to put a minute on the clock so that Renee can jot her notes and be ready when it's time for the evaluations.
I'm good. If you guys are waiting on me, I'm good.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Well, now this is one of my favorite parts of the meeting, and we are pretty much running on schedule. We have a guest who has volunteered to take the role of general evaluator. So I would like to introduce our guest, John Mitchell, who is going to introduce and provide his own evaluations of today's meeting. So I would like to introduce John Mitchell, our general evaluator.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster, and thank you for the opportunity to be the general evaluator today. First, I will call on the first speech evaluator, David Ash, who's going to evaluate the speech that I gave. David, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. And yes, I'm going to be evaluating you as a speaker. And your speech title was "What's in a Name?" And unfortunately, I need to apologize. I was immediately thought of the speech title when I stumbled. We have a longtime coach of our club, Jeff, who I often have the honor of introducing. So I, by default, going to use his name, and then I realized, no, John, you are the speaker. So I'm sorry about that, but it also sort of drew me into the topic of what's in a name. Now, I thought it was a great introduction because the topic tells us just a little bit about the speech. What's the name? It makes us curious, but you didn't give away too much with the title. And then you gradually introduced the topic, kind of built us up a little bit. And then we found out the topic in a little bit of time was about jelly, jam, and preserves. So that was a really, really great opening. One thing which I thought was also really, really effective was your use of, quote, colorful descriptive language, unquote. And I mean that in a rather interesting way. I mean the actual visual aids you used had colors for, you had a different color font for jelly, for jam, and preserves. And because those particular tasty snacks or whatever have colors to them, it made it was very mouth-watering. We kind of thought of orange or purple jelly. And in particular, the orangish color that you used for preserves reminded me of orange marmalade. And I looked it up, and orange marmalade is a kind of preserve. So I don't know if you intended that, but it really was great. I thought you had a great topic. You were very enthusiastic, very good eye contact with your audience. You did not seem to be using notes. Maybe a little bit more hand gestures. We only saw your face, so maybe it's good to be in a position where your hands are more visible. So that was really good. The only thing I would recommend that you might work on is pauses between sections of your speech. So when you moved from jelly to jam, there was not much of a pause. But then when you moved from jam to preserves, there was a good pause. So I know you know how to work in those pauses, but just to do it just a bit more consistently. So the thing I would leave you with or challenge you with would be work on the transitions, know the structure of your speech, and know when you want a good pause. I think you did it some of the time great, and other times maybe not. So in conclusion, I think you left us with a recommendation. We had a bit of a sense of humor. We referred to it as, I think, John Mitchell's official guide. And then you said, well, that's something you just made up. But you then did leave us with a recommendation, an action item. So I thought that was a great way to close off. So all in all, I really thought a really good speech. Thank you. And back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate that very much. I do appreciate the feedback. I will say I was talking with my hands. When I give Zoom speeches, I tend to be too close to the screen. One of these days, I got to learn to back up. I'll turn the next over to our second evaluator for the day, which is Renee, and she is going to evaluate Joy's speech. Renee, please do that.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Joy, I wasn't really sure what you were going to talk about. I figured it'd be table topics, but what I really loved about your speech is, well, number one, you told us what off the cuff means. I had no idea that that's what it meant. So that was, I learned something new today. I'm glad that you explained what that meant, and it totally made sense. But what I really liked is you explained how impromptu speaking basically weaves its way into our everyday lives. I never thought about it from the perspective of sitting in a meeting and having your boss say, all right, we're all going to give our opinion on X. That's impromptu speaking, because you probably didn't realize that your boss, number one, was going to ask the question, and that she or he was going to ask it of everybody and make everybody have to provide an answer. When I try to share the benefits of Toastmasters and I talk about prepared speeches and also impromptu speaking, I don't think I actually, tell them that you're probably asked to do impromptu speaking at least once a week, if not more often, in your job. And I'm going to definitely use that piece of advice or that description that you use, because that is exactly something that I think we can all work on getting better at. The other thing that I loved, and I wrote this down, confidence over content. That is such a true statement. We have so many people that are afraid to do impromptu speaking because they think that they have to fill the whole 1 to 2 minutes with a bunch of, carefully crafted sentences with lots of, information and so forth, when we're really looking for, can you actually answer a question without using a ton of filler words? And I will say that I have had the same experience when I joined Toastmasters and people were telling me all the filler words I use. I started listening to senior leaders at our company, and you would not believe how many people use filler words all the time. And these are people who are senior leaders. I will say, though, the CEO of the company I work for is amazing. He does a great job. So he must have either had Toastmasters experience or he is just a really great public speaker because he doesn't have filler words. But I love that you use that confidence over content. Let's just get confident when we speak. Because I agree with you. You say and people are like, you don't know what you're going to say, and you're probably not confident in what's going to come out of your mouth next. I love that. The only thing that I would advise in terms of making the speech a little bit better, I kind of got lost at the end with the acceptance speech thing. I believe that you were mentioning that you were going to have, the club basically vote on like who gave the best table topics answer. And then that winner would have to give kind of a short acceptance speech on why they're grateful for the award. I think that's what you were getting at. I had written down your acronym, the T-cut thing, and I might have missed it because I was taking notes, but I missed kind of the point with that. So if you ever give this speech in the future, I would just maybe do a little bit more work on that piece. But otherwise, I enjoyed the speech and got a lot out of it. So thank you very much. Back over to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much for that evaluation. Excellent. Next, I'll call on David, who is our timer, to give the timer's report.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. So I'm going to be giving timing reports for table topics, speeches, and evaluations. So for table topics, I myself was at 1 minute 30 seconds. That's supposed to be in the 1 to 2 minute range. Renee was at 1 minute 52 seconds. Joe was just a bit over at 2 minutes 8 seconds, but we do give a 30-second leeway, so Joe was within that leeway. Veronica at 1 minute 37 seconds, so right in the target. Both speeches can vary in length, but both speeches were targeted for 5 to 7 minutes. John was 7 minutes 9 seconds, so just a bit over, but within that 30-second grace period again. Joy was 6 minutes 32 seconds. And then finally, evaluation should be 2 to 3 minutes. I was 2 minutes 55 seconds. Renee, unfortunately, I started the timer a little bit late. I believe you were about 3 minutes 18 seconds. So as far as I can tell, you were over 3 minutes, but within that 30-second leeway. I think the time might be a little bit off, but it was between 3 and 3:30. So thank you, and back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you very much. I'll turn it over next to Joe, our grammarian for the day.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Thanks to the I was going to start with the possibilities, but I better start with the filler words to regain my confidence, maybe. As usual, I seem to always be the winner of the most filler word eruptions from my mouth. Of course, with the speech by Joy on you had all these visual ums and ahs on the screen. So that was a good educational opportunity for us all to try to avoid them. And as we gain confidence to overwhelm the content in our speeches, hopefully we can avoid them even more in the future and be more confident presentations. And as far as the word of the day, again, the word possibility that was suggested to me, I think that was very good. Everybody was able to, I think, work it into their presentations. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure about Renee, if I heard a possibility from you, but definitely everyone else had either one or two. So thank you for that. And thanks to both our speakers on their presentations, and on John's, just an aside, on John's presentation, I really liked the really neat way you did the organizational visual presentation with the comparisons and all that. And you answered a question that I've always had as to what the difference on the three were. I had generally assumed that the preserves would be the better, or the top, and it's usually the top priced. I knew the other two were down there, but I think it was kind of along the same lines that I had in mind. So now I know scientifically what the possible and probable definitions are. Thank you. Back to John.
Thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate that. I'll just give some general comments about the meeting, how it went. First of all, we started on time, which is a Toastmaster trait. So I appreciate that. We did a good job of starting on time. I like the fact that I appreciate the fact that you made the guests very welcome. Renee and our guests today did a real good job of that. I appreciated that. And I like the fact that you covered the history of the club a little bit at the beginning. That was good. And I appreciate that very much. I thought the meeting moved along real well, and I enjoyed that. Janet, the table topics were very good. I also like the pick a number method. I always do that a lot when I'm the table topics master, come up with 6 or 8 and have someone pick a number. I think it's important with table topics just have a variety of the way you dispense those, keeps people from getting into a rut. The only one of those that I'll really comment on specifically was, Veronica, I really appreciated your comment about taking a vacation from negative thoughts. I'm going to give that some more thinking. And I wrote down, you made the comment that fear is oftentimes the root cause of that. And I agree with Joy's assessment. There were some very good questions in there. We don't do this at our club, and I think we might start doing it. You have the 1-minute grace period there for the evaluator to make comments. We don't do that. And it's one of those things where you visit different clubs and you see things and you go, hey, that's a good idea. I never thought about that. A lot of times when I'm the evaluator for the first speech, you're still scribbling things down while the next guy gets up and starts speaking, and you miss the introduction in the first part of the speech. I like that idea. I think we're going to incorporate that. I gave my speech. I think you figured it out pretty quickly. It was supposed to be a little lighthearted, even though I was hoping it would be informative. And I hope you enjoyed that. Joy, I enjoyed your speech very much. I agree completely with Renee. I thought you gave some good examples of when impromptu speaking would need to be. I like your idea about picking a table topic, best table topic for the day. And I too wrote down the same thing, confidence over content. I've played golf all my life. I'm 50 plus years of golfing. About 30 years ago, I stumbled across a sports psychologist named Bob Rotella, and he is well known for working with a lot of professional golfers. And one of his big things is it's more important to be decisive than correct. Even if you don't know anything about golf at all, you have a bunch of clubs to choose from to hit shots. And it's more important to be decisive with the club you have than to actually have the right club. When you're putting on the green, it's more, and I have learned in golf that he is right. It's more important to be decisive than correct. And your thing about being confident, if you stand up in front of somebody with confidence, the words will start coming out and the content will work itself out. So I really thought that was really good. Overall, it was an excellent meeting. We're going to finish on time. We got started on time. You had good participation. Several of you I recognize from out on the Toastmaster Trail, and it's good to see you again. And I appreciate the fact that the opportunity I had to be the evaluator, even though I was a guest. And that concludes my evaluation. I enjoyed it very, very much. And I'll turn it back over to you, Joy.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I will have to say that I enjoyed so much of today's participation as well. And I enjoyed the opportunity for our guests to take such leading roles. And that's what happens when you have Toastmaster guests, that you are able to have them answer a table topic question or take a leading role. But here at Cincinnati TV Toastmasters, we have a lot of opportunities for new guests to come in and just say, I'm interested in public speaking, or I'm interested in speaking better at work around the conference room table. And sometimes I give a presentation and I'm not as confident if the question and answer period comes then I'm so flustered. So the impromptu speaking as well as the prepared speaking is an important part of Toastmasters, an important part of our club. So I'm going to turn it over now to the president for some final comments. I'm Joy Harris, and again, I really appreciate everybody's participation. I look at our club as being dedicated. We're a team. We know each other a little bit now. We welcome guests. We have our own Facebook page, Cincinnati TV Toastmasters. We just started that this year, so we have a little fun on there, and our speeches and our show is on Cincinnati TV Toastmasters on YouTube. So right now, our club coach, Jeff, who could not be with us today, edits the show. Maybe it takes out that 1 minute of evaluation or anything else that we want to, excuse me, we want to put on YouTube our very best foot forward, so that we give an opportunity to tell people the first Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. It's all virtual. You can go on our Cincinnati TV Toastmasters webpage and find the link. And then it's the third Saturday at 10 a.m. And we welcome guests every time. And the guests are not obligated to speak. They're not obligated to take a table topics question. But we do want them to know that once they become a member of our club, there are opportunities for leadership positions. You can shadow our director of membership. You can shadow our director of PR and education. All of the roles here need more support. We always encourage people to invite guests to the club and invite them to watch us on YouTube so they can get an idea of what we do. So I'm going to close the meeting on time, and then we'll have more of an opportunity to say hello to our guests. So if there's nothing else, let me stop recording.